Today's sponsor is Dee's Fish Co. in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. I have been breeding a species of fish that I got from All Things Fish on YouTube. I drove all the way to Iowa to get this endangered species of fish called Cryptoherus nanaluteus. Certainly go to Dee's Fish Co. to check them out. They have them on sale. I've been breeding them out. It's the only place that I've then been to. So if you want a piece of this particular fish, go to deesfish.co. You'll see their link in the description, or see them in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. You don't want Doe's fish. You want Dee's fish. Let's kick that podcast.
Welcome to the Aquarium Guys podcast.
Jimmy, we done did it.
No, we did not.
We did all the bad things.
What did we do?
We have one of our listeners that joined the Discord and sent us in what they would like to call either the Aquarium Guys drinking game, but more importantly, the Aquarium Guys bingo card.
What?
But before we begin, I'm your host, Rob Zolson.
I'm Jim Colby.
And I'm Adam Elnashar.
Hey, bingo!
We got a bingo card
We got a
right
bingo
there.
card right there.
All right, so the Aquarium Guys bingo, if you haven't listened to us before, apparently we're a little something called predictable. I'll read you each square one at a time. We'll have a bit of fun before we start the podcast. For real
Sometime
here.
I'm going to shoot you in the forehead with a .45 Magnum.
All right,
See if
first,
that's predictable.
first square. Schmelta is dissed. There's 3 or bleeps in one sentence.
And that's when we swear.
A guest is made uncomfortable.
That's every time.
Rob cries about his arowana.
That's every other time.
Someone jokes about cocaine for some reason.
Cocaine is no joke by people.
A large group of people are offended. Well, that's a given. Adam misses his intro cue, so check that one if you're listening at home.
There you go.
HR needs to be called. 9-inch cholo wood is made sexual. We also sexualize 6-inch cholo woods for though.
Hey, for those of us in
Those that are
Minnesota where it's
listening.
cold, 3-inch cholla wood is good.
Right. A dildo is referred to.
That's all you.
Yeah, that's an aquarium dildo for those that are listening. By the way, I'm going to pause there. If you're listening and you're in the Minnesota area, you can go to Dee's Fish Co. in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, and behind the counter, they have brand new glass aquarium dildos from the Aquarium Guys for sale. True story.
But you have to ask it because it's under, under the counter.
It's under the counter.
I hope
So
the
you
police
have
come
to-
in and just bust you.
You got to talk to the guy behind the counter and say, you got one of those Aquarium Guys dildos.
You have to say, hey, I know Adam Elnashar, and he knows a guy. It's you, and you've got a fucking dildo.
Oh, we got
Bingo!
We got a question. How much are they? $25.
What?
Sale.
Wait
Right.
a minute. Question.
Yes.
New or used?
Brand new.
Okay, then they're worth $25. If they're
Right.
used,
Brand new.
I don't want some skanky freaking.
Yeah, but I mean, wouldn't it be great if you had pre-aquarium cycled? You know, like kind of like you buy a sponge filter that's pre-cycled. Wouldn't you want an aquarium dildo cycled?
No.
Okay, all right, fair
Adam?
enough. Just
No.
saying.
I'm just in awe that we are selling this. Like,
This is not the first one we've sold, my guy.
how many have you sold?
You got to join the Patreon to find out. All right,
I'm not paying to listen to
Enjoy
this
the
shit.
I'm part of this thing.
that's true. So we'll talk after air.
Yeah,
right.
maybe you get a discount, Adam, or something. Because you're part of the family.
Let's finish some bingo squares, shall we? So Jimmy gets bullied for his weight.
That's all you.
Adam added to a new watch list.
That's everybody.
A didgeridoo is played. Now, I believe you're ready for this one.
I brought it.
It's been a while.
I brought it.
Play it.
Do you want me to play it?
Give me one, at least a good hearty toot for the
right.
audience. Here we go. All right, there's another bingo square taken care of.
There you go.
New tank is encouraged. I mean, that's every
every
episode.
week.
That's every
If we're
episode.
not encouraging you to do, start another tank, you're listening to the wrong podcast. Go find someone else to listen to. Shade is thrown on Jimmy's ex-wife.
That's probably me.
If you could just once more.
What?
We're going for squares here, Jimmy.
When she gets naked, furnace cakes on.
Excellent. Rob says something suspiciously gay.
That's every podcast.
That's every episode.
Salt is promoted. A sand versus gravel argument occurs.
That's about every third one.
Adam lies about being a fan favorite in the emails.
What?
Adam knows a guy is another square.
That's every episode.
A new merch idea is thought of but never executed.
That's twice a day.
Adam's fatherhood is mocked. Harassing the Ohio Fish Rescue is encouraged. And okay, if you're listening, that's a fantastic square for bingo game.
Do it.
Harass the OFR on all of their live streams from us.
And make sure you tell them it's from us.
Yes, please make sure to tell them it's from our community. And then Jim blaming Rob's bad behavior on microwave radiation.
Well, it's because you run the microwave with the door open all the time.
That's exactly what. So you have a lot of squares that were just checked off in reading of the bingo card.
That's correct.
So
what's the prize? What's the prize? Are we actually going to play this sometime? Or are we just talking
this
shit
is
on
people
our
can
butt?
go on at home, or you can trade that in for, if you hear
Trade it in
for a drinking game.
Oh.
Either way.
Ooh, I like that. But apparently, when I'm drinking and I'm playing bingo, people have to daub my thing because I don't pay attention because I just kind of loose. Not daub my thing, but daub my...
I think we're good. We can
daub
move
my
on.
thing.
We can move on. We can... All right, a couple other updates to let you guys know. We got the bingo card, yes. And then if you join our Discord is where our community's at and where Jimmy dabs things. So go to the website, aquariumguyspodcast.com. Bottom of the website, you'll find the link. Link's also in the show notes of this episode. Join our Discord. It's a lot of fun. We got a bunch of people live. I'm seeing people sending us pictures of their fish and beer cans. Join up. It's a lot of fun. And in here...
When you said you're sending pictures of their junk, I thought, oh, God, here we go.
Oops.
But you said beer cans and fish tanks?
Yes.
Okay, we're good then. Don't send pictures of your junk unless your junk is amazing. I don't want
to see anybody's junk.
Well...
Any guy's junk.
What if he's got 3 things that he wants? Maybe he's alien. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, we also have put in. I'm not gonna play this in Discord. If you go to the audio channels, we have a sound bar for all users, and in the sound bar we have some VIP exclusives. We have Adam's sexy bit that you've heard a few times at the end of the podcast.
That is sexy.
We have Willie the Shrimp advertisement as in the sound bar. But most importantly, a hidden extra that's only been on Patreon is Jimmy being racist. So if you want to listen to the clip of Jimmy being racist, join the Discord.
Oh, was that when I went to the 7-Eleven?
No, that's when you're making fun of Adam. It was even better.
Oh! That still makes me
have anything of me being racist.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there.
You are
the
most racist
edition.
person I know.
So, gentlemen, any news or updates before we jump into the podcast?
What you got, Adam? Anything exciting happen in your world? You got a new tank?
Not yet. I'm working on trying to get a dispensary started.
Hey, call me. I'm in.
What?
For
those of you listening,
I'm right on the border with Minnesota.
Yeah.
Or right on the border with Wisconsin. So I get all that Wisconsin traffic. It's going to be awesome. The only thing I have a question of is apparently our governor said that you can walk around with 32 ounces of marijuana. That seems like an ungodly amount.
And the total amount you can keep in your home is 7 pounds. Do you know how much 7 pounds of weed is in Minnesota? Anywhere.
I actually do, yeah.
That's an insane amount of weed.
I could tell you how much a pound of cocaine is, too.
There's another bingo square. There's another bingo square.
Somebody's 3 pounds over.
Man, I'm 3 pounds over. Okay, good to know. Thank you, chat. All right.
Somebody was bringing me kilo bars.
Ooh.
And I was like, holy shit.
Kilo bars? What is that?
You know how much cocaine that is? And I'm like, yeah, that's a lot.
I have been talking to another person on a different Discord server.
You whore.
I have been. It's been a great time. Shout out to you guys. It's a place called Fish Wiki. Check them out. There was this one gal on there. I don't know if I'm allowed to say her name, but she was telling me a recipe that she mixes rapashi and weed together to feed critters. So I'm hoping that I can convince this dear person to come on the podcast. She is a fish connoisseur and works in the industrial marijuana trade by profession.
Really? So she knows what she's doing.
Right. So I can't give out the information until I get permission, but I really hope to get her on the podcast.
So then you can tell her the story about how the time you gave a kitten Benadryl to keep it to sleep because it was meowing all night. Same thing, isn't it?
Hey, that I'm glad that one stuck in your brain.
There's a lot of things.
You know what I found out?
Your wife's
pregnant?
Between
my first and my last kid? No.
Where babies are made?
Well, besides that, I figured that one out. They have warning labels on the Benadryl now saying this is not a sleep aid for children. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Doesn't say
Who
anything
the
about.
actually does
No,
that?
that's a big thing, actually. In like the parent classes or whatever from the hospital, they said that you're not allowed, do not give your baby Benadryl to put her to sleep. Like that was part of the same instructions on like don't shake the baby. It was right next to it.
Really?
Apparently that's a big thing. Now, do I use it to drug my cats? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Says
Yes.
nothing about kitties.
Nothing about kitties.
So you guys are from a different generation where my children were born and they go, here you go. That was my training.
Yeah, I thought I was, but then I made
Here
a
you
joke. I literally told the doctor, I'm like, how should I shake the baby? Like, is it a vigorous thing? Or I just want to like, don't want to shake it like a pepper shaker?
Is it like one of those shake wakes?
Yeah.
You know, where you see that girl doing this here?
She had no sense of humor. She told
What?
me immediately that, nope, sorry, now I have to go through training. I was punished. I had to go through an hour and a half training course because I lipped off to her like that. It was hilarious.
I just sent you through there twice.
Right.
You know what they did for me was they gave me a huge thing on at the Mayo. They were really pushing the postpartum depression thing, which I'm like, geez, you know what they did for my first one? Because the nurse was like, oh, you guys have to watch this video on postpartum depression. And she's like, you guys are new parents? And we're like, no, this is our fourth. And she was like, okay, well, we legally have to have you watch this. But they were like really pushing that video for postpartum. I didn't realize that was such a big thing now.
Well, they're in the business of selling drugs, Adam. And so they got
I know.
they got to convince you that you've got depression so they can sell you drugs.
Who knows?
I wonder I want a survey from the dozen people that are here. Who are 13 people? Who are the biggest drug pushers? Actual drug
Anheuser-Busch.
pushers or doctors?
Who? Doctors and who?
Or actual, drug people, like drug dealers.
Like pharmaceutical people?
Who's the biggest pusher?
Anyways.
Doctors or dealers?
Anyways, let's get into the
We got 3 in a row. I think I've alienated a whole group. 4,
let's
5,
get
6.
into the content. All right, we're derailing here. So
We haven't even got on the subject yet.
now I'd like to start the podcast by sharing a bit of a mistake that I have made on the podcast. I'm going to share it with you right now. If you're listening to this, back in the past, we did an episode called Fan Questions number 4. It is the 96th episode of the Aquarium Guys podcast. We attempted to...
Did we ever do anything special for episode 100 before I forget?
we're still, like, this is, I think, 99. So we're getting there.
Are we going to do something spectacular for the
We'll
100th?
talk about it after, but
Let's do it naked.
done. So
That was too easy.
that was too easy.
Let's do it naked, and I'll wear a dominatrix outfit.
For those that are listening, that's the bingo square of Rob's being gay. So check that one off. Anyways, next. So in episode 96, 1 hour and 29 minutes in, we answered a question for Cheese Whiz. And I'm going to replay the bit so you can tell us where did I screw up.
Now, what episode is this?
This is episode 96, Fan Questions 4.
So it's like 69.
In 3,
Backwards.
2, 1. All right, next one. Bacteria Bloom. Cheese Whiz wants to know. I've done 2 water changes over the last 2 weeks. The tank's still cloudy. Any suggestions? Stop doing water changes. That's number 1 voted.
My dick sure does hurt when I hit it with a hammer.
You're just the worst. All right.
What should I do?
If you have cloudy water, your water's not most likely not cycled. Finish cycling the tank. It's new tank syndrome.
Hey, Robbie.
Put some prime.
So that little clip right there was read aloud. So we had the question of what should I do about my cloudy water. Immediately we had the joke of, wow, my dick sure does hurt when I hit it with a hammer. None of that was the problem. The problem was me saying, wow, you're the worst. And that was not directed towards Cheese Whiz. That was directed towards Dan and the audience for making that horrible joke. The question was answered saying that you haven't finished your cycle, please finish the cycle. So Cheese Whiz messaged in letting us know that wasn't at all what it was. So give me one moment while I pull up in Mr. Cheese Whiz's conversation so I can go off of here.
I hope he slams you so hard.
Hey, Rob, there was no audio in that clip.
It is on our side, so I'll have to share.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to share.
You didn't play
How can I
Patreon.
participate?
Pay the extra money.
Again, we'll talk about it in a moment. So his response in here is that that's not at all what he was doing. He was looking for a second opinion. He's upgraded tanks and moved on since then. But hold on.
And went to a different podcast.
Hold up.
More than likely.
I would have.
He found that it was the substrate causing it. He did more research, found that it was the substrate causing it, and he said that there probably was also too many other fish kicking it up as the problem, but it did go away afterwards, and the tank was cycled. So I did do a formal apology to this guy. But we get a ton of questions in all the time of, hey, my tank's cloudy, what's going on? And they won't give us extra information. And to find out they just set up the tank, they're still doing a bunch of water changes. Maybe they just finished the cycle, but then they do another 80% water change and then don't do anything about the chlorine, so then it kills their cycle. So most of our questions that we get very much lined up to that. So I wanted to put a public apology. And in honor of Cheese Whiz, we're going to do an entire episode on our screw-ups.
Wow.
Right.
That was your screw up.
That was.
That was your.
I'm owning it, clarifying.
So you do a whole episode on your screw ups because I'm damn near perfect.
You're damn near perfect.
Damn near.
Well, I think I could fill an episode of just my screw-ups, easy. But I think we can all share, do a little round robin. Who wants to go first?
I think Adam should.
Adam, you want to go first?
All right, so this
woke him up.
This wasn't my personal screw up, but it is something that I learned before I bought my pet store. Jim knows how my pet store was set up. So you know how you walk right in the door and there's just this solid wall of fish tanks, like
Correct.
30, 40 feet down?
Correct.
So I don't know if you remember this, Jim, but do you remember how they had originally had that set up?
Yes, I was delivering there for many a year.
Yeah. So originally how they had it set up was they had the hoods and then they had back filters and then they had under gravel units. And then they had them all hooked into power strips. And then every power strip was daisy chained into the next power strip because there was only 3 outlets on the wall. And there was like 65 tanks on that wall.
At least.
At least. Well, when I was there, and this was in the summer before I had bought in the place, one of the employees had accidentally spilled water because they weren't paying attention. That person, I made sure, was fired.
That's a cute one.
And they spilled water on the back of the tanks, in the back of the tanks. And then what they did was it landed on one of those power strips. It set that power strip on fire, which triggered the other power strips. So I had 4 fires I had to put out really fucking quick. And that's when I learned, don't daisy chain power strips, and I cut back on the electricity use. Like the minute I took over, I unplugged a bunch of the back filters and I just cut it saved me like $1,000 a month in power too, but still.
So how was using your first fire hydrant, or what do you call those little fire outy things, the cans?
Fire extinguisher?
Oh, there, that's the
best
one.
News, we didn't have one.
We didn't have one.
So
we couldn't afford one.
You know what I ended up doing?
Splashing water on electricity.
No, I just unplugged all of the power strips that were on fire as fast as I could.
As he's standing in water. And there's
as I was standing in water in the back, yeah. I made the people leave. Yeah, it's an extinguisher. I know it's an extinguisher. But still, we didn't have one.
You do with what you got.
Right.
You do with what you got. That's pretty substantial. Like,
that's a good learning experience.
Even in Walmart, back in the days when I used to be a manager at Walmart, manager had certain electricity codes. You had to put a tag on every power extender, like a power strip, and they had to have a tag on it displaying it only for 90 days. So if you wanted to put up like a display of a TV or a Christmas tree and you wanted to use one of those cords or power strips, 90 days, and then they had to re-up and re-tag it every 90 days if they wanted to keep it up, just so you're in knowing of that being there and being a fire hazard.
That's cool, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Actually makes sense.
Because, I mean, a lot of fires start from those cheap-ass $3 power strip thingies.
I mean, I'm a younger guy, but how many times have you sat there and been like, I only have a 2-prong outlet, and then you grab the pliers and then break off the ground to plug it in?
Been there.
Been there.
Done that.
Not a good time.
So I lived in an old house, and they had the really old-fashioned plug-ins, and you know how the new plug-ins now, where one is just a little bit wider than the other, the polarized side and stuff. I took a grinder and ground down the other one so it would fit in. It fit. It worked.
I got a feeling it's going to be a lot of electrical mayhem this podcast episode. Well, actually, why don't I just do my next one? I'll take a turn, Adam. So I set up a recirculation system with 9 10-gallon tanks. I still have it, but this was when I first set it up. Put in a new glass heater, and it worked great, but the glass heater was under watt, so it was continually running to try to keep up any type of heat, and running 24 hours a day, it being the bottom of the sump, never turning off, and being close to a couple other objects that moved into it, caused a lot of issues. So what I didn't know is that the seals on the glass heater were opening and allowing water in the heater. because the rack was up above and put on blocks. It really didn't cause an issue of like grounding out to the ground, so it was retaining its own electricity. Well, my fish were kind of acting funny. I wasn't understanding why. I was checking pH. Then I decided I had a hole in one of my socks standing on the concrete floor in my basement, and I reach in and grab, and I feel the current go from my thumb all the way through my body to my feet. That's where I'm like, what's going on? So I'm checking pumps. I'm going through everything.
Did you do it a second time to see if it did it?
I couldn't find it. So I'm trying to like, which tank was doing it? Because there's 9 tanks. And sure enough, thumb, ow, thumb, ow, thumb, ow. And I just kept going like, not realizing it's all recirculating and it has a continual water flow and it doesn't matter which one I'm touching because, again, my brain wasn't working. So I'm just sitting there repeating myself.
Because of the
hurting
microwave.
myself. Yeah, because of the microwaves. So I go through, I check each pump, I check everything, not realizing I even had a heater in the unit. I reach down, grab the heater, and just sit there and hard cock electrocute myself. Like the lights in my house flicker style electrocute myself, and then burn my hand on top of it.
This explains a lot.
I know. I'm just thinking of the same thing, Adam.
I hit the ground. I don't know what.
This explains it all.
I hit the ground. I don't know what to do. My hand smelled like burning fish. It was disgusting. So be careful with your heaters. Check placement, and it doesn't hurt. Check it every 90 days like we do the strip cord. I have electrocuted myself so many times with different fish aquarium heaters. Get yourself a titanium grounding probe. If you don't know where to find one, you can go on aquatop.com. They have one. Message them that the aquarium guys sent you. Have those on hand. Someone says, well, when should I and how long should I use my titanium grounding probe for?
Ever.
The correct answer, the real answer, should be every tank should have one that has a heater. Because it's not a matter of if your heater is going to fail, it's when. They only have a certain life expectancy, titanium, glass, whatever. They don't last forever. It's a coil inside of a object that's conducting electricity for your heat. It will burn out. It's a filament.
Almost like it's set up for failure so we can sell you another one.
Right. So, if it's doing that to you, imagine what it's doing to your fish. My fish, there was just enough water, got lucky. Maybe it was in the sump and it was far enough away. But man, did I take the brunt force hit.
And that's why Rob is a great criminal right now, because he has no fingerprints, because they all burnt off from that heater, so he can go out and do all kinds of naughty things and not get busted. Unless you leave your DNA somewhere. Like a bad boy.
And actually, so somebody's asking, how would the fish be acting different?
So
skittish.
They don't understand. Yeah, they're very skittish. Discus, it really f***s with discus.
It darts them.
The discus they were bouncing off the bottom when my heater gave way and broke and electrocuted dinner plate size. And I'm still pissed about that.
There are fish that are sensitive to electromagnetic currents in the water. You can do something as obvious as, of course, an electric eel, which is more of a knife fish than it is an eel. Those create their own electricity, but there's also more blind fish that use sensors. Sharks have them, for crying out loud. So there are species of fish that are more electrosensitive than others. Some fish were not bothered in my tank. Do I remember which fish it was? No. Am I going to plug that heater back in to figure it out as a science experiment? Maybe when I have lead gloves. But again, all I remember was some fish was acting squirrely in the tank. Don't remember which ones because maybe the electricity fried my brain a little bit, and I was more worried about my hand and shitting my pants.
The smell of burning flesh and poop.
You shit your pants.
If you electrocute yourself to a nice degree and you already had to poop, you might just push out a little bit. Just saying. We're talking about screw-ups here. This is my confession hour. I'm having fun. That's what
The rest of us are kind of gagging a little bit in our mouth. But
maybe we should start selling aquarium diapers if you don't want a titanium grounding probe. Just saying.
That's another idea.
We might as well sell aquarium guys adult diapers. Titanium probes. We're already selling dildos.
There you go.
I could use that adult diaper when I go to rock concerts because I drink a lot of beer and I don't like missing anything. So
there are so many things that we could go over and have gone over in the past on what not to do with aquarium heaters. If you want to listen, we did an aquarium heater episode in the past, but we'll happily rehash if you want to ask more questions to us. But definitely grounding probes, people.
Yeah, it's still to my amazement how very few ceramic type heaters are out there. and nobody's pushing them. And, they're kind of a hard plastic outer shell, ceramic on the inside. They also will still leak through the top eventually.
Nothing's perfect.
But the glass ones, right now I have 2 breeding pairs of discus. We have a 3rd pair coming here next week. And they will frickin', if you turn on the light and spook them, they'll run right into that damn heater sometimes. And for the first 2 weeks that I had those first 2 pairs and stuff, every time I walked in the room, they darted. And now they're used to the, me or my wife walking in the room and stuff. They just kind of come to the front of the tank to be fed.
Yeah, now he's doing strobe light training. He's got the disco ball in there.
Well, that's from our bedroom.
Oh, never mind.
Exactly.
Jimmy, you got a screw up to share?
I do have a screw up. And I know you'll know about this, Robs, because this has happened to you too.
Oh, good. So,
for those of you who have done fish rooms and you run the PVC pipe throughout your room, and you a lot of times, like Rob's has got a small 1/2 inch, I'm running it 1.5 inches. And anyway,
it's not about the size.
It is about the size. Mine's bigger. But anyway, depending on your pump, if you don't glue them together, they'll blow out if you have too much back pressure. And especially if you're running, like I used to run a 5-horse gas blower, and that thing would blow off the end if they weren't glued together. And so then you walk into a fish room that's dead because it's blowing air because it cut the PVC and it popped it open. But anyway, my screw up is learning to not use PVC cement in a unventilated room. And I'm looking at Rob's. Because you're down there running this rubber cement and this PVC glue, and you're gluing stuff together.
You're such a dick.
And all of a sudden you're singing Kumbaya and We Are the World and all kinds of shit you wouldn't listen to.
We are the world.
Exactly.
We are the people.
And you go upstairs, and my wife looks at me and she goes, "Look at me." I go, "What?" She goes, "Your eyes can't even focus on me, can they?" I go, "You're beautiful." And then I laid out in the yard for about a half an hour to try to get my...
And that's when you had the windows open, the ventilation.
Yes. And if you do it in the dead of winter when things are sealed up tight. I know you did. It was hilarious. And you called me, I've been puking.
Literally, I did it in the dead of winter. It wasn't a big project. I just had to do like a, I don't know, what I would like to call an 8, where it's literally like, it was designed like an 8 pattern. So I did it. It was about, 5 feet tall, 3 feet wide. And I got so high from that small amount of time with that toxins in the air. My wife found me on the floor giggling on the floor. I physically couldn't get up without her assistance.
Yeah.
She sat me on the bed.
How is that any different than any other time she's found you on the floor giggling?
No, it's normally she finds
he
me
had his clothes on this
from
time.
Electricity or something else. Eyes were bloodshot. She set me in the bed. It took me a while to come fully back. When I did, I started vomiting and I shat blood.
Yeah. It's good stuff. So highly, if you're in the drugs, do that stuff.
That was not fun.
And so that's my screw up is not gluing my PVC together. And then when I did finally do it, to do it in an unventilated area.
You know what did it? I cheated because PVC glue is 2 parts. You get the 2 colored cans.
The purple and
purple and the pink or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I forget what the other one, purple and the clear. And then you're supposed to put them together and then those chemicals bond, right? I got the stuff that was pre-mixed. That stuff is worse, apparently, I was told by the stoner at Home Depot.
The stoner? Well, there you go. That's probably, don't talk to the stoner at Home Depot. Go, what should I use? They go, oh, man, this is...
Oh, yeah.
This shit right here is what I'd use.
This will knock you on your ass.
Yeah.
Is that right up there with, like, huffing gold paint?
Yeah, that is quite a thing. I remember the first time that
I swear to God, I'm putting a warning right here. If you're listening to this, we are not telling you to do this. This is what we're telling you not to do.
Please don't do this, kids. This should not be an episode that you let kids listen to.
This is not.
But gold paint is what people like because it's a better high. But
that gives you that cool ring around your mouth.
I know. The first time I saw that, I was working at a grocery store, and this guy comes in at 6 o'clock in the morning dressed as a f***ing clown. I swear to God. And I'm looking at him, and he's just goofy as hell, and he's got this big old metallic ring. I mean, like glitter. And I'm going, has he been f***ing huffing a clown's ass or what? And anyway, he comes in and he steals just a ton of shit, and we're all watching him, and he looks at us dead-eye and is like, so we call the cops. The cops come and stuff, and they start emptying out his bicycle. He had a bicycle with a basket, and it had like 3 or 4 bags and 3 or 4 cans of aerosol paint and stuff. And anyway, he came back in the next day when he wasn't high and said, I'm sorry I stole from your stuff. I said, I'm still prosecuting your ass.
Yeah, you have to. I've worked at a grocery store as well. And
the cops just took him away.
Yeah. Mine was they did the Ready Whip cans.
Yes.
I had a cart with a couple, few cases. It was Thanksgiving, and they had the Ready Whip cans on sale for pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Well, I turn around, I help a gal with her groceries out to her car. I come back, and the entire, I think, 2 or 3 cases of Ready Whip, the tops were ripped off. It was just filled with whipped cream, but no air. They huffed all the air. So we look at the cameras, and it literally, you could just see the kind of the pepper white spray just flow across their face as they're hitting multiple cans at once.
Same thing with vanilla extract. It's like 65% alcohol, so people come in and steal that and drink that.
I'm putting a top on this one. There's way too much bad advice here. This is not advice. People, do not do any of this. All right, Adam.
Exactly.
What's your next screw up?
Well, I was going to talk about heaters, but since you were a dick and decided to use that one, I'm not going to. So I will actually talk about the very first time that I used Quick Cure. I was like 12 or 13. And I thought that Quick Cure was the best thing ever. I was working at the pet shop before I was managing it. I was just a young, stupid kid.
Is that back in the day when it was blue?
That was back in the day when... Oh, Quick Cure's not blue anymore?
No.
When in the did they change the color? I still have the blue shit.
I still do, too.
I have the clear shit.
Okay, so apparently they've changed the color on it.
They have.
And I'd like to use it because it's good to just... If you see ick, you put it in there and it kills the shit real motherfucking quick. I'm trying to get 3 in a row, but I don't know if I did.
You got it.
There we go. I think I did it.
I can't believe you did that.
You got it. You got it, bud.
Bingo.
But anyways, so I was putting it in all these tanks, and I started losing neon tetras. Like, I'd put the dose in there for the tanks, and the neons were just zipping around and acting all f***ing goofy, and then the Corys were, like, making loops around the tank, and I'm like, what the hell? And Jim was coming in that day, and I'm like, Jim, what did I do wrong for all these fish? I'm treating them for ick and everything, and he looks at me and he goes, dumbass, you can't give it to scaleless fish. And then he goes, did you look at the back? And I go, no. And he goes, look. And then he makes me look at it and read it, because that's how Jim makes you learn.
Yeah, he doesn't
And
here's
then-
how you should do it. He just throws papers from the 80s in your face.
And Rob goes, can you email me something?
Can you email me something?
Can you email me something?
Could you text it?
Can you
maybe?
text it? I don't text people either. I f***ing hate texting.
So yeah, I just thought that, I mean, I lost a few neons and Corys, and I'm like, huh. And Jim goes, no, don't do it again. Go do a water change. So he made me do a water change, and he goes, you can use it, but only at half dose.
On the same note, my first time using Quick Cure, I broke the container and it spilled across my face, and I looked like
Smurf.
I just raped a Smurf for a week. It looked like I was doing some sort of Braveheart rendition. It was so bad. I literally, at school, kid you not, blew across my face. I would literally just sit there and just scream that scene Freedom, where they're like ripping off his testicles. You remember the end of that movie?
No, I don't remember that.
It's William Wallace. For those that hasn't, done anything in history, it's the whole battle in Europe, and at the end, he tries to fight for his people for freedom, but they rip his nutsack off as torture.
You should probably sue that guy that just took your idea there, where you got blue shit all over your face and ink and stuff, and sue Jelly Roll. Just sue his ass.
Jelly Roll? Jelly Roll had blue in his face?
No, but he's got a lot of tattoos. It's pretty close.
Okay.
I love me some Jelly Roll.
All right. So yeah, be careful with that. Methylene blue is there it is. Freedom. You see there, Jimmy? That's me. That's a picture of me with Quick Cure on my face.
Yeah, with muscles.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Adam, for that. For those that don't know, methylene blue is an ingredient in some of the Quick Cure brands. Mardell, I think, is the one that still has methylene blue in it for that name Quick Cure.
By the way, I know a guy, so I got a bunch of the illegal chemicals that you can't get anymore.
Same. I found a bunch of the old Cordell bottles. So if you want to...
I found all kinds of the old shit. I'm like... But then the guy was like, he messaged me and he was like, did I know?
He goes, are you
and
a
he
cop?
was like, hey, do you want these antibiotics? And they're like 20 years old. I don't think they're still good, or they're going to be really, really effective.
Don't
I'm a
use
little
those.
Just start out, when you start out and go, they're old, just quadruple the dose, start from there, work your way up.
All right.
What could happen? You end up sitting on the floor eating Oreos with your dogs?
There you go. All right, so my turn. Back in the day...
Which was like, what, a week ago?
No, back in the day, I was really excited to watch my first Assassin's Tale when I was a younger kid. I went to the old Benjamin Franklin and they had some assassin snails for sale. I'm like, what's that? And this old guy comes out, because again, I was a kid and everyone's old. Kevin, the store manager, and says, hey, those are snails that eat snails, or so I was told. So I bought a couple, brought them home, and it was the coolest thing in the world watching a tiny snail eat another snail alive. I don't know if you've ever done it. Specifically, if you have an assassin snail, watch it hunt down, tackle, and eat a ram's horn snail, because ram's horns have hemoglobin in their blood, so literally you could watch the red blood squirt out of it as it's eating it alive. It's the coolest thing you've ever seen. So
Almost as cool as giving a kitten Benadryl.
fast forward. We fast forward, and we, I'm an adult. I have my own home, and I'm like, I have these really nice, big, like baseball size mystery snails. I'm like, there's no way a tiny assassin snail is going to bother. And I really like these. So I picked them up, I bought them, I brought them home, and I put one of those mystery snails in the tank. And the mystery snails, I'm not exaggerating, like it was on the line baseball, softball size, huge old Gary. So I put it in there. I'm like, yeah, there's no way it's going to have a problem. So a few days go by, and the thing's acting weird. It's on the top of the tank. I figure it's going to be dropping eggs, and it's kind of jerking in the tank. And then I notice it has sores all over it. And I sit there and watch and turn off the light, and these assassin snails pack hunt like wolves. Never knew this about assassin snails, but if the snail's big enough, the assassin snails will group together, take it down, and I shit you not, collectively kill a baseball size mystery snail. That was a hard lesson learned. That was a big L on my part. It died horribly, like little chunks getting bit out of it until it finally died.
Why didn't you just take it out of the tank?
It was too late. At that point, it was basically dead. I'm like, well, enjoy your kill. Like, I watched the lion pack take it down, and it was already going to be dead. There was no saving it. I had other ones. I didn't feel that bad. But that is the moment where I figured that assassin snails, they're a crazy bunch. They will pack hunt a big animal.
Oh, look at my snail's got sores. Maybe it's got syphilis.
So here's what I want to know. If we get a tank full of Malaysian trumpet snails...
Are you saying, like, buy a new tank?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we just get a brand new tank, throw Malaysian trumpet snails in there, because they'll colonize the whole thing and be indestructible in about a week and a half tops.
Yeah, tops.
How many assassin? Do you think they out reproduce assassin snails?
That is a fact. Yes, I have done this experiment.
They do,
and they do out reproduce the assassin snails if the environment's perfect for it. If they have an infinite supply of food, the trumpet snails will outlive the assassin snails. If you have a 1 to 1.5 ratio.
Because assassin snails, I mean, how many eggs do they release at a crack?
They're slow breeding.
Are they?
Comparative. They're slow breeding comparative to a trumpet snail for sure, but anything's slow breeding comparative to a trumpet snail.
Trumpet snails just blow shit out of their butt.
They're asexual. They can reproduce at a very small size, and they give live birth. It's insane what they can do.
Kind of like you.
But in a normal scenario, as long as you're cutting off the food supply, eventually the assassin snails won't win. But given that they have a nice size food supply, infinite food supply, they will definitely out-multiply the assassin snails.
So when I've had trumpet snails, I always found the best thing to feed them was a bottle of Hilix or Clorox.
Oh yeah,
they love Clorox.
Bleach works.
Clorox or Hilix. I just can't believe I had one of my scripts. I had a 125 gallon tank with probably 75 adult breeder angels in there. Anyway, it had probably about 2 inches of gravel, which is a lot better than sand. And anyway, I threw a bunch of Pleco tabs in there because I had a few Plecos, and I turned off the light, and that was the first time I ever saw. When I turned the light back on the next morning, I had hundreds of these snails on top of the gravel eating. And for the next, after doing some research on the internet and stuff, not even knowing what I was talking about when it came to trumpet snails, I sat there with a dinner plate and put stuff on the dinner plate every day and night. And in the morning, I'd get up and it'd be covered with them, and I'd pick them out and throw them away. And I thought I was getting ahead of them, never did. But anyway, my total script on that 125, which was my favorite tank to this day that I've ever had, we got a new RO unit in. And we decided to do about a 50-60% on RO water change into this aquarium tank to get them to breed. And we did that, and about 3 hours later, I'm looking at them going, what is that? And here we'd put in too much RO, and the body slime came off every angelfish, and we lost every one of them over the course of about 3 or 4 days. And so I killed 75 adult breeding angelfish from too much RO water. So,
I've done that too. I've killed fish that way. In fact, I actually called you about it because,
Yep.
and you said, "Yep, I've done that before."
That's how
Too
Jimmy
much
and I
RO.
met. Jimmy and I met because I was at the grocery store getting jugs and jugs and jugs of RO water, and that's how I met. It's like, you're going to strip the slime coat right off of them. I'm like, no. I mix. I haven't had that before. I went home and I mixed extra well after
that's what I first
meeting
met
Jimmy in the grocery store.
at the grocery store. And I wish I'd have kept
Yes.
walking that day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing this podcast, whatever the hell this is.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's been kind of fun.
I mean, I'm not sorry.
Yeah, this has been fun. We got a good friendship going. You know,
We've touched belly buttons.
No, we don't touch belly buttons ever. That's you being gay.
Hey, there's your
Yeah.
bingo. There's
Hey,
your bingo
hey.
square.
Dob that. Dob it.
All right, Adam, your turn.
Okay, so you remember when fish tanks keeping was fun and you could order whatever the hell you wanted and nobody really could
Fish
complain?
keeping was fun.
I do remember, yes.
Well, okay, so it's changed because like there's shit that I want to buy now and I can't f***ing find it. It's the same with like lizards. I've been out of the game for like 10 or 12 years and I can't find half the shit that I thought I could get. I used to be able to get on a daily basis.
And you're the guy that knows a guy.
And I agree.
And that's the scary thing.
You remember the good old days you'd be able to buy the dwarf seahorses from Coral Gables, Florida, and they'd send it to you in the mail? I've looked for
Well,
that
they
guy.
still do that.
I cannot find that, dude. If you find it, let me know, because I'd like to have a little tank of dwarf seahorses.
We had Alyssa's seahorses
Okay.
on, and she said she'd send you them.
I want little
Wait,
dwarf
what?
seahorses.
We had Alyssa's seahorses on as
Yep.
one of the guests.
Mhm.
You were there, Adam.
You were there.
and
It was
yeah, we had a seahorse episode. You can still get them, Jimmy.
No,
Yeah, you can still get them.
Anyways, Adam,
but I don't get Ranger Rick
I'm
magazine
talking
anymore.
your thing, Adam. Let's go.
I'm talking about like the really cool stuff, like the venomous conch snails that will kill you faster than you can feel the reaction of the dart.
Why?
Like that type of fun shit.
you like your
we
wife.
can't-
Why do you buy this poison stuff?
So I mean, yeah, I do. I mean, I like my wife better than yours. So even you know what, Jim? Even my grandma didn't like your wife.
My first one.
Come on,
My first one.
let's get to the story here.
Your
What?
first wife. So, anyways, I was ordering.
Bingo.
I was ordering some. I would go, and whenever I'd see something new on the list, I would go, "That looks cool. Let me order it." But then there was this one time
After doing no
that
research.
I did no research. I just would get the fish in, look in the book, see what could come close to it, and then I'd just put, okay, this should be sold for this. So, but anyways, one time I ordered stonefish, and I think did you bring? Me
I
those?
did. I sold them to you. They're venomous.
They're venomous as they're so bad. I put them in a tank because Jim was like, I'm like, Jim, what do you know about these things? And he goes, well, I think they're venomous.
And they
I'm
look,
like, well,
and they
what
look
do I
like a
put 'em in?
stone.
Yeah, they literally look like a rock. And he goes, well, I think they'll survive in brackish. So I just threw a tank together in about 10 minutes. I just grabbed a couple of scoops of saltwater salt and threw it in a freshwater salt tank and just made it kind of brackish over the period of a couple hours. And then I'm like, well, what do they eat? I don't know, throw some goldfish or something. Okay, well, I couldn't get all the fish out. So then I left them in there and I put the stonefish in there, and the stonefish is just there. It doesn't do a damn thing.
Lays on the
Like, it
bottom
just
like a
sits there
turd.
all day.
Like a turd.
Yeah, it just looks like a turd, and you're kind of like, what the hell is this? This is kind of worthless. And then I started throwing fish in there to feed it. And then I found out that they actually release the venom in the water, which is probably not in a 10-gallon tank. Not a wise idea to go sticking your hand in it. Also, for future reference, stonefish, when you have stonefish in the tank and they have the venom in the water, your hand gets tingly.
I'm so glad you didn't put something else in the tank.
No,
It made my thing tingly. Do it again.
Wait, what do you call those dick wipe strips? Roman strips? Those wipes that make your dick numb?
What? Wait.
There you go.
Back up
We
the
need
truck.
that.
What are you talking about?
You've heard like those little like you watch like some content creator and they say, hey, use my promo code for like Roman dick wipes or whatever they are.
No, I have not seen that.
Hold on, I'm looking it up.
never
Am I
seen
saying
this.
it correct?
And I've got two friends here.
There it is. There it is. Roman, they call them endurance wipes. Any skin it touches, it makes it's benzocaine. It makes the skin numb. So it's literally supposed to make you last longer for those that are premature. just a couple wipes and you're good. I'm just saying, have a 10-gallon tank of Stonefish, dip your junk, and you'll be ready to go.
So obviously,
And here I've been
Robbie
using
has that
Oragel for
problem.
years.
Oragel. What'd you say, Adam?
Apparently, Robbie has that problem where he needs to use at least 2 dude wipes.
No. No, my buddy, he's like, I literally see like a little pack of Roman lights. I'm like, are those the dick wipes from the podcast ads? He's like, yeah, I tried it. I couldn't do anything for 4 hours.
Why don't you just put on a freaking condom?
Oh, lidocaine. There, pretty much for your wiener. No, I think it is literally the active ingredient is benzocaine.
So, anyways,
This has got nothing to do with aquariums.
Anyway, stonefish and tingling. That's where we're at.
So you had your junk in the stonefish tank. Continue.
So after like a month and a half,
It lived that long?
yeah, it lived forever. I actually ended up selling it. So I had a guy drive down from Duluth, and he looks at it and he goes, "That's a stonefish." And I go, "Yep." He goes, "Isn't it like super venomous?" I'm like, "Yep." I go, "If you put your hand in there, it's kind of tingly." He paid me $75 for that thing because I didn't even have a price on it. I'm like, I don't know, $75. And he just goes, "Okay," and he paid. I think the thing cost like $12.
I was gonna say I said $12 was the price.
Wow. I don't know if that's that's a pretty bad one to top. All right.
It's called not preparing the people for that. By the way, I'm pretty sure it was also the same guy that he bought that. He was the guy that they called me from Duluth, where they gave me a call in Duluth one time, Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah.
Or the Minnesota DNR, because there was a guy that got bit by his cobra and it killed him.
Oh.
And he had this house full of venomous shit in there, and they were like, "Can you
Same
come
guy-
get
same guy.
everything?" I'm like, "Well, is everything caged up?" And they're like, "No, we're pretty sure cobra's loose." And I'm like,
Pass.
"I don't have a snake hook." And they go, "Oh." I'm like, "Can you turn down the heat and then I can go get it?" "Well, we have another guy coming from the cities that knows how to handle these." "Okay,
Bye.
What did you want me to do?" "What did you want me to do?" "Well, we thought you could catch it." "Well, where am I supposed to keep it?"
Put it in your pants.
Not a lot of thought
I already
process
have one
used
in
there.
there.
Also, we did get a message from chat here. I thought this was a good one to go over. He said, numb your hand in the stonefish tank so you can use it as the stranger.
Oh, I love that. I've been using my left hand.
There you go. Oh, God.
Eat
All
a
right.
couple of gummies, use your left hand, and yell, "Stranger danger."
This episode's through the toilet. All right.
That's where most of our episodes end up.
I'll make you feel better, Adam. I'm gonna do a good one on my list. So, for those that don't know, I've done this before and after, and I don't learn my lesson. When you import fish from another country, a lot of those places put chemicals in their water, fish treatments that are very illegal, federally illegal to use as anything for fish.
I know that.
Jimmy knows that. I know that. The first time I did it, I didn't know Jimmy. I imported fish in, and I got sores, burn marks across my hands from getting the water onto them. Didn't learn my lesson there, so Jimmy and I order some fish internationally. Jimmy, of course, knows this, warns me. I'm like, I'll be fine. And I get such a horrible skin infection from a small, tiny cut on my hand from getting in from some of those import things. It goes up my hand, up my arm, and I'm getting freaked out. I go to the doctor. They immediately put it in wrapping, all kinds of goodies. They put me on broad-spectrum antibiotics, and they're threatening to put me in the hospital because they think I have some sort of bacterial infection, sepsis, going through my system
I could have put you on antibiotics.
from imported bags. Put me on antibiotics.
Rub an old fish bag on your forehead.
Fish bag antibiotics. So for those that don't know, there's a lot of crazy stuff that can happen, whether it's chemicals, whether it's some sort of international infection or something you can get from bacteria in the water. Do not risk it. If you get any fish from any international place, treat it like a quarantine. Get kitchen rubber gloves. Don't let that water go anywhere. Net your fish through. Clean your nets after the fact. You don't know what you're going to get, and it, in some cases, could be life-threatening.
You're a pussy.
You and I have gotten some weird shit happen to our hands and arms before.
The worst thing that happens to me is if I have cuticles or those little hangnails on my
yes,
face.
and that's where it came from.
That's
actually.
where mine.
One
That's
of
where
them.
mine always started too. I used to get burned from those chemicals quite a bit and stuff, and I got to the point where I was wearing long sleeve shirts, but why put on gloves? Never did that.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get, like, one time my thumb, a little hangnail got from that, me dipping my hand in one of those international bags. My thumb blew up like a balloon and then literally dripped pus for a week.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff that they use overseas that is not regulated by anybody and is kind of dangerous. You know, you're talking about importing stuff, and this is something that I learned, and I don't think it's really going to affect anybody, but I'm going to share the story anyway. So I get a phone call from my elementary school, and they go, is this Jim? I go, yes, it is, and stuff. And he said, can you come down to the school today? We'd like to talk to you about something. And I'm thinking to myself, this can't be good. Anyway, I get down there and stuff. They said, does any of this look familiar? I go, yeah, that's all the packing papers that I get with my tropical fish when they come in. Well, my son had asked, he asked me, he goes, can I take some of this for show and tell? And it's newspapers from Thailand. And it's got like a big story, picture of some stuff and all this, language that you can't read. And I go, yeah. I said, I told him he could take it and stuff. So because they were talking about different foreign languages. And I said, this is pretty cool and stuff. And then the principal goes, yeah, because I thought it was really cool too until I saw this. And he turned it over and there's a freaking naked girl from the waist up. And I went, shoot. I said, I didn't see that part. He goes, yeah, I kind of figured. So he said, next time, he goes, maybe we'll do a better job of looking at this before you send it to school. And I said, yeah, I definitely will. And I see this principal from time to time, and he says to me, still importing fish? I go, yeah. He goes, good for you.
Good for you. Can confirm. Was it the second to last order I got internationally had nude women on it in the,
right. And
in the loose paper in the packing.
It's just on page 5 or whatever they do. I mean,
yeah, it's normal. Well, I was talking to a guy. He was the head IT person for a national gas station chain, and he said that he got a call from human resources in their Chinese location because they have a lot of their products manufactured in China to bring over to the gas stations. The Chinese location contacts them saying, hey, the firewall is blocking content for our employees. I need you to unblock it. Oh, what content? Can they not get to their work applications? Can they not get to an important site for the local news? Nope. They want to unblock porn. Because apparently in the area that they were in, it's common when they take their 15-minute breaks that they're just going to go consume porn in the break room.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a very different culture. More nudity on public items like papers and, yeah, different culture.
Yeah, our friends just got back from Spain. We just had dinner with them the other night, and their middle child, who's 20 years old, is over there for schooling for Spain. And so they flew from Minneapolis to Amsterdam to Madrid. While they're at Amsterdam, they thought, you know what, we want to go see a part of the city. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. Let's go check out part of the city. And so they have their younger son, who's a senior in high school, and their middle child, who's 20 years old. And they go walking, and they end up in the red light district of Amsterdam at 11 o'clock in the morning. And the two boys were so embarrassed to be with their mom and dad because all these females were sitting and doing the old little naked dance in the window thing at 11 o'clock in the morning. And Heidi said, I don't know what was funnier, me and Ty going, this is pretty cool, to my kids going, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that, and I'm here with my parents. And so they said it was just very interesting, the culture being so much different over there. And they were only in Amsterdam for like 4 or 5 hours. And so they were talking to some of the locals, and they said, is it safe to be down here like at night? And they said, until about midnight. And after midnight, it goes crazy, and you don't want to be anywhere near here if you're a tourist. And
here we go.
Ooh, I want to go, Jim.
Here we go. We got one of our listeners that just popped a comment in. It says it's all over Europe. I was in Romania, and I saw topless girls on TV at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
on public television.
Yeah, and these boys, one's a senior in high school, and he's going, yeah. And then the middle child's like so embarrassed. Ty goes, well, I know which one of my perverts is.
Hey. So, Adam, it's your turn.
Well, okay. So I did the quick cure, I did the daisy chain, I did the remember when you could get the good stuff? Like
I feel like that's the podcast. You remember the good days? We can get the good stuff.
You remember?
Well, I shoved it up my butthole.
I butt loaded.
Okay, we're not talking about you and airline tubing, Robbie.
So what good stuff this time, Adam?
You remember when you would order Live Rock? It was actual Live Rock.
Yes.
Like they took dynamite and they, I mean,
dynamite.
They harvested it from natural locations. It wasn't farmed.
Not with the hammer. They used C4.
Yeah. And I'd order buckets of live rock.
Yes.
And then I told you guys the story of how I got the I got the blue ring, right?
The
Yes.
In the
octopus,
live
yes.
rock that.
Sure did.
Yeah. And I'm gonna get another one. But anyways, the other stuff that you'd find, like, I liked opening the buckets of live rock besides the smell because you never knew what was in the live rock.
And you wouldn't know for 4 days afterwards either.
Yeah, the one time, did I tell you, Jim, that I think I called you up because I found a pistol shrimp in there?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
The amount of stuff that comes in that live rock at that time, they'd come, for those of you who've never shipped in live rock, it comes in a 5-gallon pail, basically wrapped in wet paper towel or wet newspaper. I mean, there's not really any water in there.
Yeah.
But it's been harvested over in Indonesia or wherever it came from. And we used to get, when Ty and I would bring in, we'd bring in 400 or 500 pounds at a time, and we'd go up and get all these 5-gallon buckets from the airlines. And they're like, what the hell are you guys doing? And the amount of stuff that would come out of there was incredible.
Oh, it was awesome. I'm pretty sure there was an illegal species in there all the time. There was always something awesome. One time I got live clams. The only thing that what I'm going with this story is how it was a screw up is before I realized this, that you're supposed to rinse it off with some salt water, I would just put it in the tank and I poisoned an entire tank because of all the dead silt and everything, all of that dead waste. Just the tank couldn't handle it, even though it was an established tank. It just couldn't handle it.
You just crashed
It
your
killed off my
cycle from
entire-
the shit on the rocks.
Yeah, the smell.
Yeah,
You open up a 5-gallon pail, and the smell was incredible. God, it stunk.
yeah.
And you swear to God,
you would
everything
get
was
so
in there
much
was
stuff.
dead.
Sounds delicious.
We
What?
opened up one time and we had about an 8-inch moray eel come slithering out of the rock that had been dry forever, and we had
Yeah,
him.
and it was still alive.
Yeah, we had him forever. We kept him. His name was Kevin.
Kevin the Moray.
Yeah.
Wow, that just put in live rock and just watch your shit die.
Yeah, we
All right.
We had Ty and I had a 300-gallon big rubber. What do you call those? Those big. You have several back here.
Yeah, the cattle troughs.
Cattle troughs, the big rubber ones.
The Rubbermaid ones.
And he would get in all this rock, and we would put it in there, and we had lights above it and stuff. And Kevin lived in there, and we'd throw in flipping goldfish every couple of days and stuff, and the goldfish would be gone. I mean, it hit the top, and Kevin would come out of nowhere.
Poor Kevin.
Did you ever figure out what kind of moray eel Kevin was?
No, it had spots on it. That's all I remember. Had some kind of like little white spots on it and stuff. Because I remember we were going, because we're such good saltwater guys. Maybe the thing's got ick, but it was just this metallic stuff it had on it. So it was kind of incredible.
Sweet. Well,
Yeah.
my turn. So I decided with Jimmy's help that I was going to put up a shrimp rack. And the shrimp rack had multiple shelves. So I could fit on there 12 2.5-gallon tanks, and I had a nice shrimp colony going there for a while. That rack's still actually behind Jimmy in our studio right over here, and for those that have seen our live stream, some people have seen that wooden rack next to my stairs on the camera, but what it was, again, it had those shrimp racks, and then on it, I got these, I think I bought them off from Ty, because Ty was emptying one of his warehouses. I got these long, I call them river tanks, but essentially they were frag tanks. You would put different coral frags in them. They were what, Jimmy? 8 inches wide by what?
4 foot long.
3 foot long?
Yeah,
You know?
acrylic
Units.
Yep.
And they had dividers that were pre-built in them, so you put your corals in them and it could flow down. And you were supposed to make a recirculating system for salt water out of them. That was the idea. So he's used a bunch of them, but these are extras that he had that he never used, so I bought them. And I wanted to take a Dremel, cut out the dividers, and turn them into one long, river tank. So I had 3 of them. I decided one was the sump, 2 were the tanks, and I used PVC pipe and made a recirculation system out of them. Now, what I didn't realize is that these had, the recirculation systems I did before had the water return valve above the water line, meaning that when you turn it on, you would trickle the water into the surface of the tank. These had the return in the center column of the tank. Something I haven't done before because they were already pre-drilled. They already had bulkheads because they were supposed to be pushing salt water through and having these fittings and valves to put pressure to have flow across the corals to grow coral. So I used the same fittings. I left it in the tank and I got the whole thing going. Now, what I didn't realize, because I haven't used that particular light switch, is that the homeowner decided that he was going to put a lamp on that light switch. So he had it wired that when you shut the lights off and you go upstairs, it also shuts that light switch off, which controlled the entire recirculating system. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me, because every time I come downstairs, the lights would be on, the pumps would be working. Well, I flipped the light on at the top of the stairs. So I flipped the light on, it's enough time for it to spin up the stuff. So here's what would happen. I'd fill up the recirculating system. Everything would look good. I go upstairs. I go all the way up to the kitchen, at the top of the stairs, flip off the light where I'm not hearing it because I closed the door behind me. And then I come downstairs, and my basement had water all over the floor. And the recirculating system just shit everywhere. I'm like, well, what am I doing wrong? Is the pump kicking out? Is something happening? And it took maybe 12 times of flooding my f***ing floor to get the idea that when the power goes off, when the return heads are in the tank, it's essentially siphoning out the water to the sump below, literally like you would have a siphon hose to that level, and taking all that water and putting it in the sump. Now, when I have two tanks and then one tank below the same size as the two tanks, that water flows down, overfills it, and dumps the essentially one of the three tanks to my floor.
It spews.
It spews and dumps all over my carpet. So if you're making a recirculating system, I love recirculating systems with UV filters so they don't have to share disease. I love them. If you're making them, make sure that your return spigot is above the water line. Otherwise, you're just creating yourself or the sump is big enough that when the water siphons back down, it doesn't go to your carpet. So that, I have not restarted that system. I had it working for a while. I even paid an electrician to make sure that circuit was off of the light switch so it kept quit shutting off. But I got sick of that. Anytime you had a small little electric brownout or the power goes out in the middle of the night, it kicks off and my floor is covered in water. I just got so sick of it. So now I have these tanks. I haven't done anything with them since. They're dry, and I'm coming up with something else to do with them.
Plant some cactus in there.
Plant some cactus. So yeah, don't put your return tips in the water.
Don't put all your bunnies in a basket.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
There we go. Bunnies, eggs, whatever.
Jimmy, what you got?
Learning experience. So we were so excited. My buddy Ty and I found somebody who was breeding piranhas. Now, somebody in the United States breeding piranhas is very tough to find.
I think there's only three. There's two left, I think, in the country.
Right.
Those are actual farmers that farm out piranha, yes.
And they usually won't take on new customers. They normally don't advertise because they don't have to. It's like these blackworm guys where there's only 2 or 3 of them in the U.S. People somehow find them. And anyway, we were so excited to find this guy and got a hold of him. And he said, yeah. I said, how many do you want? And I think we bought 300 piranhas that were the size of our little fingernail.
Yeah, they're small when they come in.
They're small. And you have to send them when they're very, very small because they go through the damn bag. Now, these are red-breasted piranhas, which are kind of the pussies of all the piranhas because we've had the other ones. We've had, the black ones. We've had the gold flake metal one, whatever, and they are aggressive as hell. Whereas, like, this tank, if I dropped a net in there with 300 piranhas, I would just reach in and grab because they're small piranhas and they're pretty skittish.
And if you want a quick recap, we have a whole episode that we talked to Frank Maginalis. I'm butchering his last name. We were able to get him on the podcast to talk in depth, and sadly he passed away since we've talked to him.
Very, very knowledgeable guy.
No one else was better to talk to about piranha, but do continue.
Yes. So anyway, we got these piranhas, and we find out the guy's breeding them in cement vats. And when I say cement vats, I mean, what are those things they call where they bury people? Vaults, right?
Oh, the cement coffins.
Yeah, the cement that the coffins go into, a vault, right?
The vaults.
So anyway, if you go down to Florida and you are able to go on to like 5D and some of these different places that breed fish and keep fish, they have a lot of these cement vaults lined up, hundreds of them. And that's where they keep the fish. And they put a bulkhead in there, they put in aerators in there, and they can put on thousands of fish per vault. They don't have to worry about them blowing away in a hurricane because they're freaking cement. They're low maintenance, and the cost isn't that bad on them from my understanding. But anyway, so we talked to the guy, and he's breeding them in cement vaults because he says they're very skittish, and if they see you, they'd rather just stare at you and try to defend their territory than breed and stuff. So he said, I finally had success breeding them in these cement vaults. He's doing it out of his garage. And so we get 300 of them, and the guy says, all you need to do is keep them really well fed. And so what we did, thinking that we're so smart, we lined up we had a 110-gallon horse trough, rubber one, and he told us, he said, take a bunch of plastic bags, like garbage bags, and shred them and hang them from the top. So it's kind of like seaweed hanging in an ocean, so they have places to hide. And so the first one we do just that, and we kill 300. And we're like, what? I mean, they're all dead like in a day and a half. And we find out that these garbage bags have some sort of film on them to keep them from sticking together.
And the toxins killed them all.
The toxin killed them all. Okay, but it took us a while to figure it out.
So sniff your bags, and if it smells like potpourri, it's probably poopy for your fish.
Yeah, or how about you just use like plastic plants, rather than using garbage bags?
Sure.
So.
Or Walmart bags. I bet there's no chemicals on there.
Yeah, I'm sure not. So anyway, back to square one. Okay, call them up. Yeah, I got more. God, because we love spending money. Send us some more. He felt bad for us, so he sent 350 because he felt bad for us. He said, I'll give you an extra 50 so you guys try to make up some of your money because I gave you bad advice. Okay. So now we have this thing full of plastic plants that we've had in other tanks that are, every fish keeper has got that box of goddamn plastic plants that are brightly colored and ugly.
Every fish keeper, yeah.
And so we loaded this thing up with plastic plants, and we went, you know what? Now we've got a board that goes across the whole thing, and we've got 6 feeders on this thing. 6 feeders. And we're feeding pellets, we're feeding flake, we're feeding whatever we got, and we put on 6 feeders on top of this thing. And then we put a light on it so they could eat all night long. Well, apparently if you leave a light on it 24/7, they'll eat all the eyes out of each other. So in about 2 weeks' time, now they've gone from the size of your little fingernails to almost a nickel size. The majority of them don't have eyes. They look like blind cavefish because some asshole fish in there starts eating eyes as a delicacy. And the guy told us that too after we called and said, he said, if you don't keep them well fed, we said, well, we had them well fed. 6 times a day they're getting fed.
You gotta keep a auto feeder on them.
Yeah, we had 6 auto feeders. And he says, yeah, you just got to keep them in the dark. Son of a bitch.
Frank told us that too, that you got to keep them dim lit or
right.
Curb the aggression when they're young.
Right. And so, because we like throwing money at a problem.
You bought more?
We bought more. We bought our 3rd batch, did the same thing with low light. We actually kept them covered, and we only probably lost about 20 fish out of those 350 and made some money finally. But by the time we got done selling them,
you're certainly not in the black.
No, by the time we got done selling them, a lot of them are the size of a quarter, and now you got to use 6 bags to freaking bag them up so you could take them to a store to sell because and so what little money you made, you spend in freaking bags. So that was my little piranha how to lose money story.
So I can confirm. I got some people that still ship piranha and whatnot, and what they'll do, also not just piranha, but like Pictus cats, stuff like that will poke a bag. They're now they're getting cheap plastic containers, making sure there's holes drilled through the plastic containers. They're putting the plastic containers in a fish bag. I mean, that's the only way you can take care of it. Yes, it costs more, but I mean, not much more. A plastic container's not going to be that bad.
Right. I mean, and they're already putting oxygen in the bag and whatnot and stuff. And,
right.
And a lot of the when I get fish from Seeger's Farms, especially like Pictus, or if I get discus or something that's really skittish.
Some of the big cories, they all got spines.
They'll take
Sedontus cats.
They'll take those bags, and you've seen those bags where they come in and they're half black.
Yeah.
And some of those things they'll take and they'll put another black one on, so it's 100% black when they're shipping it.
Keep it all dark.
Keep it all dark and try to keep them calm.
When I got my gold piranha shipped up, the Peruvian gold ones, you know, the super aggressive ones, they shipped it in a bag in its own styrofoam container full of water, and then they had shipped it in a 5-gallon bucket, and it was taking chunks out of the bucket.
Wow.
He was pissed.
And you know what the best part was? The guy that bought it, he drove down because nobody would bring them in because they're just such a pain in the ass. And I'm like,
well, the mortality
I'll tell you
rate,
when they come in. Huh?
The mortality rate's about 90% on those damn things because you can't get them here alive.
Yeah, well, I did. I got one, and I got one alive. And then I'm like, okay, here you go. He was just astonished to see that it was alive and everything. And he goes, well, how much is it? I'm like, $200. I even warned him, and he goes, oh, okay. Well, I only got $175. You better find the other $25, because otherwise I'll throw it in the tank. You never see these things anywhere. He paid the $200, but
yeah,
bye-bye.
I made it only cost me $35 to bring the damn thing in.
Yeah, they're very hard to find. I mean, and usually when you find a rare one like a black or the gold flecked one, it's somebody's pet that they are just tired of feeding.
Right.
And the thing is, they never have an idea how the hell to ship them either when they're that big.
What do you got, Adam?
Yeah.
What's your turn?
I'm pretty much done with all the stupid stories that,
All right,
you guys know my lionfish one and everything else.
I'll keep them coming. People have listened in and heard about my arowana story. For those that haven't heard it, you can listen to prior episodes past, but I'm going to rehash it today. Y'all been bitching, making memes.
Hold on.
About Rob's arowana.
Hold on. I'm going to go get a box of Kleenex for you.
All right, y'all can just, all over me. All right, so Rob's, I feel like we have a nice diverse selection. Adam used to run a store for many years, very successful store. Jimmy's been wholesaling for many years. What was I say, 30 plus years, Jimmy?
Correct.
Been doing a lot of good out there. I am the, out there guy. I like to sample a bit of everything. I go out. I will drive 4 states away to get a fish I've never had before. I've sampled a lot of weird things. So with our powers combined, we make a mediocre podcast. So in our endeavors, Rob's sees that a particular wholesaler that Jimmy and I work with has acquired 2 things: a particular blonde stingray and a arowana. So I don't know if you heard the story. I got the stingray in. It was feeding well. We're doing a good time, but it actually choked on food and died. It was a horrible mishap that I blame on nobody other than bad luck. When I was there, my roommate looked at it because he was watching it happen as I watched it happen. He's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "He's choking and there's nothing I can do." If I get in there and I pinch him, he has a stinger, and that stinger may be venomous, especially at this age. I have no idea, and I'm not going to risk it. So I'm not going to get my hand in there and try to free the stingray. I'm not Adam.
I should have gave it mouth to mouth.
Right? And as it's dying, my roommate goes, I bet that's how you're going to die someday. And then he just walks the fuck upstairs. So that was horrible. But I still got this wonderful black arowana. For those that are listening, arowana, the actual Asian arowana, the ones you see in pictures and whatnot, are illegal, federally illegal in the United States. So if we want arowana, we have to have South American and Australian arowana. So again, federally illegal for Asian arowana. So you can get South American and Australian; those are completely legal. But those particular species, however they do look nice, are not near as colorful. So you're generally stuck with silver-esque species. Now, on a list from a particular wholesaler, they were proud because they said that contact us about a new species. It wasn't even on the list, so I contact them, and they say that they have acquired in 6 individual black arowana. They have got these black arowana. First time they've had them in the trade, and this was a ways ago. That should date me. First time this particular wholesaler has got them in, and all they have is 6 that they're going to select more of their VIP people to get the first 6. And I beg, plead, and cash in some favors with Jimmy and myself, and I get it in. I get the...
They gave you the retarded
I already
one.
told you the stingray died. The arowana's doing great. Hand-fed. I have it fully... Like, I could follow my finger, do a loop-de-loop in the tank. Fun arowana. I got a big tank for it. Great. Let's have some fun. Well, there just so happens to be someone that said, hey, I have a shovel-nosed tiger catfish. A small one that needs a new home, and they're just going to literally their plan was to throw it in a Minnesota lake and stream.
They should have threw it in the dumpster.
Jimmy and I are nice people that try to take in fish rather than watch them get flushed down a toilet or worse, thrown back into nature that they don't belong and cause an invasive species or disease. So I take it in. I don't have any place to put it at the moment, so I'm like, hey, I have this tank. All it has is a youthful black arowana in it that is twice the size of this shovel-nosed cat. Let's put them together and see what happens. So I don't know if you've heard the story in one of the Storytime episodes, but Robs did not know that the shovel-nosed tiger catfish has some of the same abilities as a gulper catfish, and it swallowed that entire arowana whole. I literally came down and saw just the tiny bit of the tail sticking out of its mouth, and the center of this fish so round it looked like it was some sort of soccer ball. Just crushed my hopes and dreams. A throwaway, a literal reject fish ate my prized arowana, and I've been bitter ever since. And you guys, you guys have been up my ass on this for a while.
I was here. I saw it.
You literally saw it.
You that would happen?
I didn't care.
You ignored his warnings.
I got tears rolled over. The look on Rob's face, he goes, I'd have bet you $100 that he couldn't have swallowed it. And I said to him, I said, you spent more money on that on the fish. He was, he was distraught, to say the least. Actually, I had him on suicide watch for a couple of weeks. I thought he was going to kill himself.
Now, for those that are going off, that was a pretty big purchase. I purchased a blonde, very rare stingray, and you guys can look up stingray prices. They are just the same as they used to be. They are terrible. Now, everybody's asking, what in the world did I pay for that arowana? And for those that are listening, I'm going to censor this out for the normal listeners, but this will be in Patreon, the uncensored, unfiltered version. So go to patreon.com/aquarium guys, spend the $1 to figure this out. But I spent on just the arowana wholesale. Now, if you don't understand wholesale, if you see a fish for $6, wholesale we paid 50 cents to 75 cents for that fish, a lot of times. So wholesale, I paid for that motherfucker.
Before shipping.
Before shipping.
Before
I still had to
shipping.
pay shipping and shit. For that fucking fish.
At the time, his car was worth about $800.
My car was worth less, yes. Significantly less. I get that in, and now all I have is this fish that ate it whole. So, awful. Yeah.
That's still a great story.
Awful.
You know what, Robbie? You could have almost thrown my endlers in there, and they probably would have survived just fine.
You know, I could have. I really could have. So, yeah, that was fun. Now, black arowana are nice and cheap.
They're dirt cheap.
Yeah, they're dirt cheap, and that was expected. You know, we know how farmers do it. I paid the price premium to be one of the first people to get them. I certainly was. I enjoyed it, and I got shit on because of it. But yeah, now you can get a black arowana for just a few points more than a normal silver arowana, and they're quite prevalent in the hobby thing, thanks to what they did in farming.
So you didn't.
So, Robbie, I do actually feel sorry for you. If I can get one of those baby ones of the special kind, do you want one?
You mean of the illegal kind?
He'll take
I'm
two.
not saying anything illegal.
He'll take two.
I'm just saying, if I can find some babies, do you want one?
If they're not illegal, I'm in. If they're illegal, I'm very out.
So what Robbie didn't tell you at the end of the story is that a few weeks later, I'm still feeling really giddy about him killing this fish. And so what did they have on sale from Segrest Farms is they had blueberry baby arowana.
Which is horrible, by the way.
They dyed these little arowanas blue or red, and I bought him a blue one and gave it to him.
Literally.
It was funny.
What they do is they take a silver arowana. It's not a process I'm proud of in the hobby, and they dip them in an acid material with color, and it's literally a silver arowana with a burnt tattoo hue.
It's like they put it in a tiny bowl.
Yeah, when you get them, they still have a touch of the yolk, and sometimes they're that small, and they look real blue, and then when they get old, they just have like this shitty tiny tinge of a faded blue. Yeah, it's not fun.
Look like an old Smurf.
Actually, I don't even think you paid for that. I think that the story was that the wholesaler threw that in because she liked the story.
I think you're right.
That's how it happened. You did not buy that intentionally. They wanted to give a consolation prize to what happened because I still had the picture of it. I sent the picture to them, and they thought it was so damn funny.
We all did.
Yeah. Well,
So that was Julie, right?
Yeah.
At least Julie felt sorry for you when I called her and told her that I was stung by that goddamn dwarf lionfish and my arm was going numb. Well, if it gets any closer to your heart, you're f***ed, aren't you? Like, she gave no f***s.
the difference is I paid her much more than you did for that fish.
Yeah, you're looking for free information. Robbie gave her a bunch of money.
She's looking for another sale. You know what I'm saying?
Well, she probably figured I wasn't going to be much of a sale after that.
Not if you're dead.
Robbie, you should post the picture on Patreon.
I'll do it. I'll post a picture on Patreon, and then you'll see. It wasn't how I originally found it. I originally found it where it was just the tiny tip of the tail. The picture I have is where we're sort of regurgitating it. So you'll still see most of it consumed.
Oh, he didn't even swallow it and shit it out. He just literally killed it and puked
Oh
it
no,
out.
he pooped like a
No.
Clydesdale.
No, here's what happened. All right, so he swallowed it whole. It was like 1 inch out of its mouth. It was all just a tiny tip of its tail, so I knew it was an arowana. It was basically all it was. And it was literally perfectly round. The thing was so stretched out, it was insane.
Looked like it had a softball.
It looked like I put an air compressor and just blew it the up. So then what I did is I thought it was going to die and choke. So I quickly, ran to get a stick. And by that time, like, you know what? This fish. Like, panic set in. And then I'm like, this fish. I'm just going to let it be.
That's
So
after
then
he called me.
Then I get my phone to take a picture. And by that time, he sees me. He's panicking. And he's starting to regurgitate it. So but by the time I got the picture, there's a little bit more than just the tip of his tail out. But eventually, he just puked the whole thing up. And I just got to see my dead floating arowana. Yeah.
He still pooped a lot.
Oh yeah, he digested a good chunk of it. But yeah, so if this feels better, especially after that question and answer episode, and you feel like we're hoity-toity and above thee, we make mistakes too. We learn every day in our hobby, and the whole episode's out to Cheese Whiz. Glad you got your cloudy water fixed, and this, my mistake there brought us an entire episode talking about our screw-ups. I got one more. You got another one, Jimmy?
Nope, I am perfect.
All right, last one for you people. So I decide, because again, I'm the guy that tastes a little bit of everything. There's fish I haven't had. I'm not an absolute expert, but let me tell you, I've had a lot of fish in my days. One of them that I started getting into was freshwater clams. I've had freshwater clams in the past. They do a great job. If you've ever had a bacteria bloom in the tank where the water turns green, generally what you have to do is a bunch of water changes. You can chemically treat it, but the best way is using a UV sterilizer. UV sterilizer will literally kill the green water right out of it and clean it up to crystal clear. But the second best thing you can do is have freshwater clams. They will filter out the water, and if you put, say, 4 clams, 6 clams in a big tank of green water, in 4 or 5 days, they'll have it pretty well cleaned out. They filter that well in the tank. They feed off of the nutrients in the water column, all the crushed up flake, anything that they can get. They are a filter feeder in the tank. Wonderful if you have the correct clam. I, again, offered something to rescue. Hey, I'm getting rid of my tank. You want some of these snails? I've never seen the snail before. Snail. I keep saying snail. You ever seen the clam before? I'm like, I've had clams. Clams work out. Why wouldn't you have a clam? So I take in the clams. I
like clams.
I put it in my tank, and the clams do their thing. When you put a freshwater clam, you drop it in the tank, and they'll flop to the bottom any which way. I'm a sand guy, and clams do very well in sand. So what will happen is they'll stick their tongue out, they'll right themselves, and then they'll almost like 75% bury themselves just to leave a little tip outside the sand. And they'll do this in gravel too. It just sand's a little easier for them.
Just a tip.
Just a little tip out there.
Just the tip.
So they can filter water in and out and feed properly. They're a lot of fun. So I got these clams, put them in the tank, and everything was doing fine, well, and dandy. Well, fast forward to a couple months later, and I had fish die and all this shit in my water column. Well, little did I know that the incorrect clam species, I'm going to read this verbatim. Some clams reproduce by tiny microscopic larvae which attach to the fish's gills, potentially causing whirling disease that may kill your fish. So my fish were acting sporadic, spinning like they were having seizures, and then just flat die.
No kidding.
So that was what was happening is I got a bad clam species. They were doing so well and healthy that they bred and released larvae into the tank, attaching themselves to my fish's gills, and completely eviscerated the tank. So if you're listening to this, clams are fantastic, but get the correct clam. Live-bearing clams, otherwise the common ones, I like Asian clams. Are commonly called gold clams, prosperity clams, or good luck clams. I can never say this name. Jimmy, can you give a crack at it?
Corbicula foluminuma? I don't know.
Fulumania? Again, golden clam, prosperity clam, or good luck clam. I will attach this inside of Discord. This is my particular favorite clam, and there it's attached in Discord. There's also another one that's a little lighter. The gold clam is more of a yellow species. This is a lighter white species. These are all fine to do. They will not have larvae that attach to your fish's gills. Learn the hard way there.
So I do have a legitimate question here. Are these legal to bring into the U.S.
Yep.
as for the pet trade?
Now,
Because I thought that you couldn't bring in clams anymore or anything like that.
I can get golden clams.
yeah, that's this actually. The golden clam is the prosperity clam. So
Yep.
that is the one without the
Okay.
problem. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because some of the wholesalers sell the golden clams, and they're available. They're not that expensive.
There are most clam species actually are on lists, especially such as zebra mussels, stuff like that, because clams do very well in cold water. These Asian clams, I've had them die in colder water. I don't actually know what their temperature range is because I just use them in any of my aquariums and they've done fine. As long as I'm not doing a full-on cold water, koi tank and putting them in my pond outside for them to freeze over the winter, I haven't had too much of a problem. But again, I know they didn't. I had a clam in my pond, definitely died in the fall before it even began freezing.
Now, I got a quick question on clams, because on snails, if a snail goes bad in your tank and you have a small enough tank, it will take out your tank, because snails are just hideously, when they die, they just reek and they just do havoc in your tank. Are clams the same?
You're getting to my second screw up. So, as I have that tank, have to completely bleach that tank out, start over, I get the correct clams. And the correct clams do very well. They breed decently slowly. They're a lot of fun. They do move around the tank, and they filter your tank very well and keep the water column clear for you. However, if they die, you have to inspect your clams. If you see a clam in there and you haven't seen them move, you don't see any current around the clam, that clam probably is dead, and you should grab a stick and do a check. Because when they do crap out, they are like 12 snails that died in your tank. They will toxify the water column and have a smell worse than any dead snail.
So what you're saying is you should take your stick and poke your clam.
Poke your clam. Here's the test. If you're having the clams, at least the Asian clams that I recommend, you can just move them and they'll immediately stick their tongue out to rebury themselves. It's pretty easy to see that clam close. Anytime you touch them, they'll collapse and close their shell in defense. So very easy to check to make sure that they're dead or not. But sniff that clam, poke the clam,
With your stick.
Do you have to feed them anything special if they filtered all the food out of your water columns, or no? Do you have to put like that liquid filter feeder food or anything like that?
Some people do the liquefied stuff. I've never done it, and I've had great success with clams. But here's what I do. If I'm using pellet, I'm taking a little bit of the pellet every feeding, and I'm purposely crushing up a pellet. If I'm using flake, it's easy just to take your finger and crush up that flake, and they will grab pieces of flake out of the water column. That's
I would
what
like
do.
to have a clam person on here. This is kind of an interesting part of I've never thought of them as a fish keeping. You know what I mean?
I bred clams.
something
I've
to
kept
keep.
clams. I don't want to consider myself as a high-end expert, but I've had a lot of experience with clams. Clams can be fantastic.
Huh?
Clamtastic.
Clamtastic.
Are we gonna? Are
Good
you
one,
gonna,
Dan.
Now, here's a question: will assassin snails attack them?
Good question.
No, they will not, because the clams close up. They have their own defensive system, and assassin snails will not bury through the clams. Now, I have not tried that with the horde of assassin snails. I've tried that with a normal amount of assassin snails. So for those that are listening, that heard the first story of the podcast, they hunt in packs, maybe they'll take down your clam. But I haven't had any problems with that at all.
I have several different things to say, and none of them are
Appropriate?
politically correct.
Did somebody get
Clams on the half shell?
Did somebody get a bingo? By the way,
Did somebody what?
I'm just wondering if somebody got a bingo.
Oh, you never know. Hop on Discord, find the bingo card. Listen to every episode. Use it as a drinking game if you want, if that's something you partake in legally.
Legally. Yeah, because drinking is illegal everywhere.
Yep, clearly. But yeah, anything else, Adam?
No, I think that's it until I get on a new watch list for something or other.
All right, I'm gonna do a quick wrap up before we end. We had a few listeners put in some of their stories here. So my biggest screw up, I was doing a water change on my axolotl tank, which was upstairs. My neighbor came over to tell me there's water flowing out the front of his house. My GD Victoria Falls, because my dumbass completely forgot I was filling a tank. Note to self: no more drunk water changes. Definitely almost got a divorce after creating Victoria Falls out my house. Thank you, D. Fisher. That was definitely a screw up to share.
That has happened to all of us.
Next one by Snall. Biggest screw up. I had a 2.5 gallon tank using Guppy Fry to remove paper towels that I was using as a filter media because I thought it was gross. Then I watched all those fry die in front of me.
Why did that? I never understood that.
Must have got sucked in. Oh, he was using the It must have been a pre-filter.
Oh.
And he watched them all get vacuumed up. All right, that's pretty bad. Next one. Altered llama. One of my few mess ups was when my husband was doing a water change on some of his L260 Plecos. I walked into the fish room and noticed the tank looked weird, only to realize there wasn't any water at all. He thought the siphon would break when the water would go lower than the python, but luckily we were able to save the flopping fish. I've definitely done that same shit.
Yeah.
We all have.
We probably could do two podcasts that's on things with pythons that have gone wrong.
Just water changes in general where you forgot what's going on.
Hey, do they sell pythons still?
Yeah.
So
I just got a brand new one.
For those that are listening,
nice.
If you're wanting to do this Python auto change system, you can go on Amazon, I think for like $6 to $10. You can get just the replacement Python adapter tip so you can use your own garden hose instead of spending the $80 or whatever it is for the full kit.
I tell you, I was really impressed with my store that I was supplying went out of business, and I bought their Python from them. And the hose now is not a very rigid hose; it's very flexible and very soft. And I was really happy with that. And you can step on it, and it doesn't really. I mean, it still flows, but it slows it down. But
I'm gonna clip this out just for out of context right there. It's really nice when it's soft. You can step on it. It feels real nice in your hand.
So if you're wondering where to get information on clams, just type in pornhub.com.
Call me.
Call
me, maybe. All right. Another fail is not having lids in your tanks and fish room are red tiger cichlid. Not reading that scientific name, by the way. Named Jaws. Well, they named it. That's not problem number one. Is our designated trash disposal unit for guppy culls. One day she hopped over the tank where we had a new pair of our electric blue Acara that they just spawned. And man, it was a bummer coming home to find that the male Acara was dead, protecting the female. Luckily, she survived, and we put Jaws back with a very secure lid. Never again going lidless. We call that topless.
Topless.
Around the Aquarium Guys podcast.
I mean, how many times has your $2 fish killed your $100 fish or your...
Yeah.
Or Adam, how many times has a rat, a $4 rat killed a $1,200 snake? I mean...
Oh, all the time.
All the time.
And then,
That's why you give your rats Benadryl.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. Oh, man. Just looking through.
You know when they always die, too? That right there is my favorite blank.
Right.
Next day or within a week, dead.
Right.
This one, another one by D. Fisher. I lost $500 worth of discus recently. Still have no idea what happened. My vet did a necropsy and didn't find anything. Discus plague is all we concluded to. Oh, didn't know you could do, autopsies on... All right.
If I was a vet and somebody came in with a dead fish, I'd be going, hell yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, I'll take your money.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. $200,
please.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what would wipe out all the discus. Like, was there any symptoms? Is that guy still on here? I'd like to ask him if there was any symptoms or anything.
Let's take this offline. If you guys want to join the conversation, Discord's in the show notes. Come join. I believe that's the last one that we got. Thank you all for coming. And if you like the podcast, please share it with a friend. Join on Patreon, patreon.com/Aquarium Guys. It's in the show notes. Love your support. And please share it with a friend. Jimmy?
You
want to play us out with your didgeridoo?
No. I'm actually going to go pro with my didgeridoo.
One more toot, please.
One more toot? All right.
One more toot.
Hold on. Here we go. Not very good.
Not very good.
Try again.
Until next time. Thanks, guys, for listening to the podcast. Please go to your favorite place where podcasts are found, whether it be Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever they can be found. Like, subscribe, and make sure you get push notifications directly to your phone so you don't miss great content like this.
Don't send pictures of your junk unless your junk's amazing. You whore.
Hard cock, I electrocute myself, and I shat blood.
Let's do it naked.
Done. I just raped a Smurf for a week. We are the world.
Exactly.
We are the people.
Has he been huffing a clown's ass or what?
Y'all can just, all over me.
Stranger danger. Because I'm damn near perfect.
Pumpkin pie.